We begin with Canada's evacuation efforts in Afghanistan. Senior government officials held a technical briefing earlier today, and they've revealed new operational details. So let's bring in the CBC's Ashley Burke to bring us up to speed on what we've learned so far. Ashley.
Well, for the first time, officials confirmed that Canada's military, their special forces, are going outside of the gate in Kabul at the airport, and to help get people who are eligible to come to Canada safely to the airport and onto planes. Canada has been facing increased criticism and anger that they've been telling people, we're told on the ground, to get to the airport themselves. That means going through Taliban checkpoints. There has been gunfire. They're facing crushing crowds at the gate, many of them struggling to get inside. And now we're learning that Canada will be going outside the gate like other countries who've been sending helicopters and buses to convoy people to the airport to safety. We've also learned that the Kabul airport, it shut down yesterday, and it continues to be shut down today. This is temporary in order to get evacuees onto planes within the gates. There was another flight out of Kabul last night carrying just more than 400 people that was headed, those people are destined to go to Canada. We also learned that Canada today has received 6,800 applications to date to take part in this program, and so far has processed 2/3. New details today also about how Canadian Armed Forces are going to be going to a second, third country to help with that processing. And so far, 900 Afghans and Canadians have been transported back to Canada or to Canada through this program.
And it has been certainly a situation where every day on the campaign trail, the Liberal leader has had to address the situation. So what did we hear from Justin Trudeau today?
Exactly. In a way, it's overshadowed some of his announcements and his messages that he's been trying to get on a daily basis. And it's something that he has all of last week addressed every single day at the beginning of his speech, this crisis unfolding in Afghanistan. We're starting to see him distance away from that. He didn't do that yesterday or today. But today he was asked about what kind of measures he would take against the Taliban. And he had this to say.
Absolutely. First of all, the Taliban are already recognized under Canadian law as a terrorist entity. And when we have our G7 leaders meeting shortly, we will certainly be talking about what more we can do and must do.
What more he can do and what he must do, he's referring there to what additional sanctions could be in place against the Taliban. Now, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau has been facing mounting criticism himself for Canada's handling of this crisis. Complaints that Canada's acted too small and too slow in response to all of this. And the opposition leaders have been also accusing him of being distracted because he's out trying to get reelected for office. But he has said that he can do two things at once, and the government remains committed to working on this effort.
All right. Thank you for this, Ashley. That is the CBC's Ashley Burke reporting from Ottawa. And evacuation efforts continue for those still in Afghanistan wanting to get out. U.S. troops plan to be there for one more week to help. But the UK plans to ask them to stay longer. The CBC's Tessa Arcilia has more details of the situation on the ground and the upcoming G7 talks.
Evacuation efforts continue on the ground, and tens of thousands of Afghans are still trying to get out of the country. And the situation in and around Kabul airport remain volatile and chaotic as evacuations continue. There have been reportedly around 20 people that have been killed in the last 7 days alone due to shootings and stampedes. And there was a report of a firefight this morning between an unknown gunman and an Afghan security forces. And this also included U.S. and German troops. And now, amid all of this, the 31st of August is looming. That is the date that U.S. and international troops are meant to get out of the country completely. Now, some governments, the UK included, thinks there needs to be more time to facilitate the evacuation process. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is expected to ask the US President Joe Biden tomorrow at a virtual G7 emergency meeting to extend that deadline in order to allow for these evacuation flights to continue. Now, the UK Defense Minister says it is important to get the Americans on board on a decision like this, and this is why. Take a listen.
I don't think there is any likelihood on staying on after the United States. If their timetable extends even by a day or two, then that will give us a day or two more to evacuate people, because we are really down to hours now, not weeks, and we have to make sure we exploit every minute to get people out.
The U.S. is under pressure to extend that deadline. France had also backed that idea, saying they also needed more time. Now, the Taliban had said that they will not allow the extension of that 31st of August deadline. They said that this is a red line for them. The troops will have to withdraw. So there is that consideration that leaders will have to talk about tomorrow. Other issues on the table, the possibility that the UK wants the other countries to consider sanctions, new sanctions against the Taliban in order to get them in line when it comes to respecting human rights, for example. And there is also that talk of a long-term strategy of what to do in dealing with the Taliban. For now, the evacuations continue. It is a massive logistical operation, not just on the ground in Kabul trying to get people out, but also in preparing the receiving countries for Afghan refugees. Tessa Arcilia, CBC News, London.